The crystal domes of New Haven sparkled like jewels against the gray surface of Serenity Prime. Inside the main control room, K Administrator Valthera watched the screens with growing fear. Her thin, glass-like fingers shook as she saw the red dots moving across the display. The Vract H were coming closer. "How many ships now?" she asked her helper, Linder. Her voice was so quiet it almost disappeared in the air. Lindor looked at his screen and felt his stomach drop. 23 hive ships. They broke through our outer shields 10 minutes ago. Valthara closed her large, pale eyes. The Cathari had always been a peaceful people. They loved books, art, and long talks about the meaning of life. Their bodies were delicate, like living crystal, beautiful but fragile. They had never learned to fight because they had never needed to fight. Until now, the Vraked H were different. They were like giant insects that ate everything in their path. Whole planets disappeared when they arrived. They turned forests into empty dirt, cities into dust, and people into food. They had no mercy, no feelings, no thoughts, except hunger. Another explosion shook the building.
Althera grabbed her desk to stay standing.
Through the clear walls of the dome, she could see the dark shapes of raft ships landing on the moon's surface. They looked like huge metal beetles with glowing red eyes. Administrator Linder said, his voice breaking with fear, "The north wall is failing. They'll be inside the colony in less than an hour." Valthera looked around the control room. Her people were trying to work, but she could see the terror in their eyes. Some were crying. Others stared at their screens like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. These were scientists, teachers, and artists. They knew how to grow beautiful gardens and write lovely songs. They didn't know how to fight monsters. "What about the escape ships?" she asked. "Gone," Lindor replied. "The Vrak destroyed them first. They always do. They want to make sure nothing gets away." Valthera felt something cold settle in her chest. She had been the leader of New Haven for 12 years. She had helped build this colony from nothing. She had watched children grow up here, seen families start new lives among the crystal gardens. Now she was going to watch them all die. But then she remembered something. The long-range communication array was still working. It was hidden deep, underground, protected by the colony's strongest shields. Maybe, just maybe, someone would hear them. "Linder," she said, standing up straighter, "turn on the emergency broadcast system. All frequencies." "But Administrator, who will hear us? The nearest Cathari world is 6 months away. Even if they sent help now, not just Cathari frequencies," Valthera interrupted. "All of them. Every signal we know about. Every radio wave. Every communication channel in the galaxy." Lindor stared at her. "You want to broadcast to unknown species? We don't know what's out there. It might be worse than the Vraked H." "It can't be worse than death," Valthera said quietly. She walked to the main communication console and placed her hand on the activation switch. For a moment, she hesitated. The Cathari had always been careful about contacting other species. They believed in slow, careful first contact. Years of study, cultural exchange, and diplomatic meetings before any real communication began. But there was no time for careful diplomacy now. The Vrakther would be through their defenses soon. Children were crying in the shelters below. Families were holding each other, waiting for the end. Valthera pressed the switch. "This is Administrator Valthera of the Cathari colony, New Haven," she said into the microphone. Her voice was steady now, even though her hands were shaking. "We are located on Serenity Prime in the Kepler 442 system. We are under attack by the Vrake swarm. Our defenses are failing. We have 2 million civilians, including many children." She paused, listening to the sound of explosions getting closer. The building shook again, and dust fell from the ceiling. "Any civilized species receives this transmission," she continued. "Please help us. We are a peaceful people. We have done nothing to deserve this. We just want to live. We just want our children to see tomorrow." The transmission went out into the darkness of space, traveling at the speed of light toward distant stars. Valthara didn't know if anyone would hear it. She didn't know if anyone would care, but she had to try. Far away, on the other side of the galaxy, The message reached a small monitoring station orbiting a blue planet called Earth. Communications specialist Kim Dae-ho had been working the night shift, listening to the usual background noise of space. Radio waves from distant stars, signals from automated probes, the quiet hum of the universe. Then he heard the voice. At first, he thought it was a joke. First contact with aliens? It sounded like something from a movie. But as the translation software worked and the message became clear, Kim realized this was real. Very real, and they were asking for help. Kim's hands flew over his controls, cording everything, enhancing the signal, checking and double-checking the translation. His heart was pounding. This was it. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for since they first looked up at the stars. But it wasn't the happy first contact everyone had imagined. It was a cry for help from the darkness. Kim Dae-ho ran through the halls of the Mars monitoring station like his life depended on it. His boots echoed on the metal floors as he rushed toward the command center. The alien message was still playing in his earpiece, and he could hear the fear in the voice of Administrator Valthera. "Commander Park," he shouted as he burst through the doors. "Commander, you need to hear this." Commander Park Min-soo looked up from her coffee with tired eyes. She had been working for 18 hours straight, reviewing supply reports and personnel files. The last thing she wanted was another false alarm from the listening posts. "Kim, it's 3 a.m. This better be important. It's aliens, Commander. Real aliens, and they're in trouble." Park's coffee mug hit the desk with a sharp clink. "What did you just say?" Kim played the recording, as Valthera's voice filled the room, asking for help against something called the Vrak Swarm. Park's expression changed from tired annoyance to sharp focus. She was a military woman, and she knew the sound of someone fighting for their life. "How long ago did this come in?" she asked. 23 minutes. I've been running analysis on the signal. It's coming from the Kepler 442 system, about 47 light years away. Park stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the red surface of Mars stretched into the distance, dotted with human colonies and research stations. Humanity had spread across their solar system, but they had never found other intelligent life. Until now. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," she said. "Priority Alpha. Wake up Admiral Lee if you have to." Within an hour, the Emergency Council was meeting via hologram. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials appeared as blue figures around the conference table. They all looked tired and confused, but they listened as the alien message played again. "Are we sure this is real?" asked Dr. Yoon Ji-hai, the head of xenobiology. "It could be some kind of test or hoax. Signal characteristics are consistent." "With deep space transmission," replied Dr. Song Wai-ming from the physics department. "The gravitational lensing effects, the background radiation signature, everything checks out. This came from outside our solar system." Admiral Lee Du-haen, the head of Earth's military forces, leaned forward. "Even if it's real, what can we do? We're talking about a 47 light-year journey. By the time we get there, these Cathari will be long dead." "Not necessarily," said Captain Choi Hae-won from the Fleet Command. "The new jump drives can cover that distance in 6 days, maybe 7 if we push the engines hard." "And then what?" asked Counselor Williams, one of the few non-military people in the meeting. "We don't know anything about these Vraked H. They could be defending themselves. Maybe the Cathari are the real threat here." Commander Park, who had been quiet during most of the discussion, finally spoke up. "With respect, sir, did you listen? To that message, that woman is watching her people die. She's not asking us to invade anyone or take sides in some war. She's asking for help against something that's trying to kill civilians." "But we don't know," Williams began. "We know enough." Park interrupted. "Someone is in trouble, and they ask for help. That's all we need to know." The room fell silent. Everyone knew that Park had lost her family in the Singapore attacks 10 years ago. She had been on Mars when the terrorists struck, unable to help, unable to save anyone. The guilt had driven her to work harder, fight harder, and never ignore. A cry for help. Admiral Lee looked around the table. All in favor of sending a rescue mission? The vote was close, but the military voices won within hours. The 7th Expeditionary Fleet was being prepared for humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. Captain Lee Dongmin stood on the bridge of the battleship, indomitable, and watched his crew prepare for jump. They were a mix of veterans and volunteers, united by a simple belief that had guided humanity since their earliest days. When someone asks for help, you help them. "Captain," said Lieutenant Commander Cho Hae-won from the intelligence station, "I've been monitoring the alien signals. The Vrak communications are ... disturbing. How so?" "They're excited about our ships heading their way. They think we're bringing them more food." Lee smiled grimly. The Vrak had no idea what they were about to face. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world by the few alien species that knew about it. Most planets in the galaxy were peaceful gardens where intelligent life evolved slowly and safely. Earth was different. Earth was a planet where everything tried to kill you. Humans had evolved alongside predators, diseases, natural disasters, and their own violent nature. They had learned to hunt in packs, to never give up, to protect their young at any cost. They had survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and thousands of years of war. "Signal the fleet," Lee ordered. "Jump in 10 minutes." As the ships prepared to leave human space for the first time in history, Lee thought about the message from Valthera. She had asked for help from any civilized species. She was about to learn that sometimes the most civilized thing you could do was send the most dangerous people you knew. The jump drives activated with a flash of light, and humanity's first interstellar war began. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace like falling stars, their engines burning bright against the darkness. Captain Lee Dongmin stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and felt his blood run cold at what he saw. Serenity, Prime looked like. A dying animal. The beautiful crystal domes of New Haven were cracked and smoking. Ships crawled over the moon's surface like giant metal insects, their red lights pulsing as they fed on the colony's power systems. Dozens of the alien vessels floated in space around the moon, waiting for their turn to land and consume. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Commander Cho Hae-won. "How many of them are there?" "Sensors count 47 ships," replied the tactical officer, "and they're all converging on the colony." Lee watched the tactical display update in real time. The Vratach weren't just attacking randomly. They were organized, systematic, like a pack of wolves surrounding wounded prey. They had blocked all escape routes and were slowly closing in for the kill. "Captain," came a voice from the communications station. "I'm picking up a weak signal from the colony. It's Administrator Valthera. Put her through." The voice that came through the speakers was barely a whisper, filled with exhaustion and fear. "Unknown ships. This is New Haven Colony. Please identify yourselves. Are you here to help us?" Lee picked up the microphone. "Administrator Valthara, this is Captain Lee Dongmin of the Human Defense Force. We received your message. We're here to help." There was a long pause. Then Valthera's voice came back, shaking with disbelief. "Humans? You came? But your world is so far away. How did you get here so fast?" "We'll explain later," Lee said. "Right now, we need to know your situation. How many civilians are still alive?" "About 1,800,000. We've lost so many already. The Vrakth broke through our outer defenses 6 hours ago. They're in the main dome now, hunting room by room." Lee felt anger rise in his chest. The Vrakth weren't just killing these people. They were terrorizing them, making them suffer. It was the kind of cruelty that made his hands shake with rage. "All ships, this is Admiral Park," came the voice over the fleet channel. "We have civilians dying down there. I want those bugs cleared out, and I want it done now." The human fleet moved into attack formation. The Vrak ships turned to face them, their biomechanical hulls gleaming with acid and slime. To the alien swarm, these new arrivals looked like easy prey. Small ships, simple weapons, probably another peaceful species coming to beg for mercy. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The first human missile struck, or Vaoth cruiser amidships. The explosion sent chunks of metal and organic matter spinning into space. Verkef's ship tried to return fire, but 3 more missiles hit it before it could lock onto a target. The alien vessel split in half, its biomechanical systems sparking and dying. "What are they doing?" hissed the Vrak Queen from her command ship. "These new prey fight like hunters. It's down on the moon's surface. Staff Sergeant Osumin, led his Marines out of their landing craft. Vrak had dug tunnels throughout the colony, turning the beautiful crystal structures into a maze of death. But humans had been fighting in tunnels and caves for thousands of years. It was in their blood. Remember your training, Sungmin told his squad over the radio? These things think like insects. They follow patterns. Break the pattern, and you break them. The Marines moved through the tunnels with the smooth efficiency of pack hunters. They used grenades to collapse passages behind them, cutting off raked reinforcements. They set fires to smoke out hidden enemies. They worked in pairs, watching each other's backs like wolves on a hunt. Private Nam Tajon kicked down a door and found himself face to face with a Vrakth warrior. The alien was twice his size, with razor-sharp claws and acid-dripping mandibles. It should have been an easy kill for the creature, but Taejun had grown up on Earth, where everything tried to kill you. He had learned to fight in schoolyards. To survive in cities where danger lurked around every corner, he rolled under the creature's claws, came up behind it, and put 3 bullets in its brain before it could turn around. In the colony's command center, Velthara and Lindor watched the battle through their security cameras. They had never seen anything like it. The humans moved through the Vrak forces like they were dancing, each movement precise and deadly. They used fire as a weapon, something no civilized species would ever do. They fought even when wounded, even when outnumbered. What are they? Linder whispered, watching a human soldier continue fighting with a broken arm. I don't know, Velthara replied, but they're saving us. The battle raged for hours. The Vrak, for the first time in their species' history, found themselves being hunted instead of hunting. The humans fought with a savage joy that terrified even their allies. They sang war songs while they fought, laughed when they took down large enemies. They protected each other with a fierce loyalty that the hive-minded Vrak couldn't understand. By dawn, the tunnels were clear. The Vrak ground forces were dead or fleeing, and the humans were already preparing for the next phase of the battle. Dr. Yoonji Hive worked with shaking hands in the colony's laboratory, mixing chemicals that would have killed most other species just by breathing them. Beside her, Linder watched with wide eyes as the human scientist handled deadly compounds, like they were water. Your people, Linder said carefully. You're not afraid of poison? We evolved with poison, Jihai replied, not looking up from her work. Our planet tried to kill us with toxic plants, venomous animals, and deadly gases. We learned to fight back. She held up a small vial of green liquid. This will attack the Vrak nervous system. It won't hurt you or me, but it will make them very sick. Lindor stared at the vial. How do you know it won't hurt us? Because I tested it on myself first. The alien scientist nearly fainted. You poisoned yourself? Just a little bit, Jihai said with a smile. Humans are very good at surviving poison. It's one of our skills. Above them, the space battle was getting worse. The Varact Queen floated in her massive hive ship, watching her forces die one by one. She had conquered 100 worlds, eaten 1,000 species, but she had never faced anything like these humans. They fight like demons, she hissed to her. Advisors, they use their own ships as weapons. They ram us with their damaged vessels. What kind of species does this? Her tactical officer, a smaller Vraked H with nervous clicking sounds, replied, Queen. They seem to enjoy fighting. Our mind readers say they feel happy when they kill us. The Queen's massive head swiveled to stare at him. Happy, they feel. Joy in battle? Yes, Queen. And they protect each other, even when it means death. We cannot break their formations because they will not abandon their wounded. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Lee watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. The Vraks were learning what it meant to fight a species that had survived Earth's brutal evolutionary pressure. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to protect what they loved. Captain called out Lieutenant Commander Cho Hae-won. I'm reading massive energy buildup in the Queen's ship. She's preparing to run. Not happening, Lee said firmly. He opened the fleet channel. All ships. This is Lee. The big bug is trying to escape. Form up for ramming attack. Sir, his tactical officer said nervously. "A ramming attack will destroy." "Our ships too, not if we do it right," Lee replied. "Besides, that's what escape pods are for." The human fleet changed formation, their ships moving like a pack of wolves surrounding a wounded buffalo. The Vract Queen watched in horror as the humans prepared to sacrifice their own vessels, just to stop her from escaping. "They're insane," she whispered. "Completely insane." But before the ramming attack could begin, something unexpected happened. The Varric ships began to slow down, their movements becoming clumsy and confused. Through the fleet communication system, they could hear the aliens making strange noises like they were getting sick. "What's happening?" Lee asked. Dr. Yoon's voice came through the radio from the colony. "The biological weapon is working. I put it in the colony's air system. The Vrayaks have been breathing it for the last 20 minutes. Will it kill them? But it will make them very dizzy and confused. It's like being drunk, but worse." Lee grinned. "Perfect. All ships, move in for close combat. These bugs just lost their coordination." The human fleet attacked like sharks smelling blood. The Varak ships, already struggling with the biological weapon, couldn't maintain their formation. They crashed into each other, fired at empty space, and sent confused messages that made no sense. Staff Sergeant Oh Seung-min led his Marines aboard the Queen's hive ship through a hole blown in the hull. The corridors were filled with sick Vraked H stumbling around like they were drunk. Some tried to fight, but they moved too slowly and couldn't aim properly. "This is almost too easy," said Private Nam Ta-jun as he stepped over another unconscious Vraked H. "Don't get cocky," Seung-min warned. "The Queen will be in the center of the ship, and she'll be protected by her strongest warriors." They fought their way through the biomechanical corridors, past walls that pulsed like living tissue and floors that felt soft under their boots. The deeper they went, the stranger the ship became. It was part machine, part living creature, and completely alien. Finally, they reached the Queen's chamber. The massive Vrak ruler sat on a throne made of bones and metal, her huge eyes glowing with rage. Around her stood her personal guard, the largest and most dangerous Vrak warriors. "So," the Queen said, her voice echoing through translation, "devices, the little mammals finally reach me. You think you can defeat the Queen of the Swarm?" Seung-min stepped forward, his rifle ready. "Lady, we already have." The Queen laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You may have won this battle, but there are thousands of hive ships across the galaxy. Millions of my children. You cannot stop us all." "Maybe not," Seung-min admitted, "but we can stop you." The final battle began in the heart of the hive ship. Humans against the deadliest creatures the Varathis had ever produced. But the humans had one advantage the aliens couldn't understand. They weren't fighting for conquest or food. They were fighting to protect innocent people who had asked for help. And that made all the difference. The Queen's chamber echoed with the sounds of battle as staff. Sergeant Oh Seung-min and his Marines fought against the largest Varric warriors. These were not the confused, poisoned soldiers from the outer ship. These were the Queen's personal guard, each one the size of a small truck with claws like swords. Private Nam Ta-jun rolled under a warrior's massive claw and fired his rifle into its belly. The creature screamed and stumbled backward, green blood spraying across the biomechanical walls, but it didn't die. Instead, it got angrier. "These things are tough," Ta-jun shouted over the noise of gunfire. "Then we hit them harder," Seung-min replied, pulling out a grenade. "Take cover." The explosion rocked the chamber, sending chunks of alien flesh and metal flying everywhere. When the smoke cleared, 2 of the guard warriors were down, but the Queen was still alive. Her massive form rising from her throne, she was huge, even bigger than her warriors, with 6 arms and eyes like burning coals. Her voice boomed through the chamber as she spoke. "You think you've won, little mammals? I am the Queen of 1,000 worlds. I have eaten entire civilizations. You are nothing but insects to me." Seung-min wiped blood from his face and smiled. "Grimly, lady, we've been called worse things by our own mothers." The Queen charged forward with surprising speed for something so large. Her claws could have cut through steel, her acid breath could melt metal, and her strength could crush bones. like twigs. But humans had been hunting dangerous creatures for millions of years. They knew how to work together. The Marines spread out, forcing the Queen to choose targets. When she went after one, the others attacked from behind. When she turned to face them, the first Marine was already moving to a new position. It was like watching a pack of wolves hunt a giant bear. "She's getting tired," called out Corporal Kim Minho, firing at the Queen's legs. "Keep moving," Queen roared in frustration. She had never faced prey that moved like this, that worked together so perfectly. Her warriors were powerful individuals, but these humans fought like they shared one mind. Finally, Sung Min saw his chance. The Queen stumbled, exhausted from chasing the quick-moving humans. He sprinted forward, jumped onto her back, and drove his combat knife deep into the base of her skull. The Queen's death scream echoed through the entire hive ship. Every Vrak in the fleet heard it through their neural connection. For the first time in their species' history, a queen had been killed by prey. The remaining Vrak ships fled into hyperspace, their formations broken and their confidence shattered. The great swarm that had destroyed 100 worlds was running away from a single human fleet. On the surface of Serenity Prime, Administrator Velthara stood in the ruins of her colony and watched the human ships land. She had never seen anything like these creatures. They were bipedal like her people, but shorter and more muscular. Their skin was thick and scarred, their eyes sharp and alert. They moved like predators, but they treated the injured Kethari with surprising gentleness. "Administrator," said Captain Lee Dongman as he approached her, "I'm sorry we couldn't save everyone." Velthara looked around at the damaged domes and the bodies of her people. Over 200,000 Kethari had died in the attack. But without the humans, they all would have died. "You saved almost 2 million lives," she said. Quietly, "We will never forget what you did for us." "You only did what was right," Lee replied. "When someone asks for help, you help them. That's what makes us civilized." Dr. Yoon Ji-hai was already working with the Cathari medical teams, using human medicine to treat the wounded. She had discovered that many human drugs worked on Cathari biology, and she was teaching the alien doctors how to use them. "Your species is very strange," said Linder as he watched her work. "You are so violent in battle, but so gentle with the injured." "We protect what we love," Ji-hai replied simply. "And we love life. All life. That's why we fight so hard to protect it." Admiral Park Min-soo arrived on the second day to oversee the relief efforts. She met with Velthara in the temporary command center that had been set up in one of the surviving domes. "What will you do now?" Park asked. "The Vrak might come back, we don't know," Velthara admitted. "Our people are peaceful. We don't know how to fight creatures like that." "You don't have to," Park said. "We'll teach you. And if the Rakefi come back, we'll come back too." "Why?" Velthara asked. "Why would you do this for us? We have nothing to offer you. We're not warriors or traders. We're just ... people." Or smiled, and for the first time Velthara saw the gentleness behind the human's fierce exterior. "That's exactly why we'll protect you. Because your people and people deserve to live in peace." Over the following weeks, the first human Cathari alliance was formed. It was a simple agreement. The Cathari would share their knowledge of art, science, and philosophy, while the humans would provide protection and military training. But the alliance meant more than just mutual benefit. It sent a message across the galaxy that reached every civilized species. The message was simple and clear. The weak now had very dangerous friends. Species that had spent centuries hiding from predators like the Vraked H began to hope again. Pirates and raiders found their victims suddenly protected by human warships. Bullies discovered that their prey now had guardians who enjoyed a good fight. The galaxy had changed forever. It all started with one desperate message and one simple human principle. When someone asks for help, you help them.